It's been nearly 2 decades of controversy, cover ups, and credibility crises, and the pressure has finally reached a boiling point. Roger Goodell is facing the loudest calls ever to step down as the NFL's commissioner. You're watching part one of the case against Roger Goodell. My name is Will Rock, and this is Rockhound Detroit Lions. We're going to dive into it all right now.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again!
All right, you guys know what to do. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I can't thank you enough, man. Huge thanks to you guys. We just asked it 10K. And not only did we hit 10K, you guys blew us right past 11K. So now the goal's 12. I think we can do it. You guys, 1,000 subscribers in 48 hours is nuts. Thank you, man. From the bottom of my heart, you guys are absolutely amazing. Talking about the scandalous ones in the NFL, Roger Goodell. Do us a huge favor. Leave us some comments. Let me know. Of course, I love to know. I try to reply to everybody. What do you think about Roger Goodell and whether or not that he should resign, be an urge to resign? Should the NFL owners just pull the rug out from underneath him or give him an opportunity to resign? We'll refer to this as Refgate, I guess. Too many scandals, man. Just one of the latest, right, in the NFL. But just a few, right? You've got the secret arbitration rulings, buried in the backroom deals. You have weaponizing the league media, now targeting its own players. You have officiating scandals that have fans and analysts openly, questioning the integrity now of the game. And this isn't just about one bad headline. And this isn't just about the Detroit Lions in the most recent issue in the Chiefs game. No, it's about a pattern of secrecy, collusion, arbitrary justice, all of which has eroded the trust from the fans, the players, and even the courts about what's going on in the NFL. Tonight, we're going to break it all down. The hidden arbitration that exposed collusion over player contracts, the NFL Films video that way crossed the line in institutional shaming, and the officiating controversies that really have fueled a lot of these accusations of rigging. So what I want to start with is Roger Goodell. And this is just a year and a half ago, maybe not even that, maybe 9 months ago.
Commissioner Roger Goodell's press conference.
That officiating has favored the Chiefs, not my perception, public perception. How much of a concern is that for you in the league?
Well, this sort of reminds me a little bit of the script, right? That I write a script, and I have the script for the entire season. Listen, I think from a lot of those theories are things that happen in social media, and they get a new life. As you say, it's not your theory, but it's out there. Nobody wants it to be their theory. And so I understand it. I think it reflects a lot of the fans' passion. And I think it also is a reminder for us how important officiating is. And I think the men and women that officiate in the NFL are outstanding. They have the highest possible standards. That's a ridiculous theory for anyone who might take it seriously. But at the end of the day, it's something we always have to continue to work on. How do we make our officiating better at all times? And if you look at the Chiefs' record, which I think is an amazing thing, people talk about the competitiveness of our league. The Chiefs, with their 15 wins, 15-2 this year, 11 of those 15 games were within one score. And I think that talks about the competitiveness of our game and the importance of how we officiate it, but also the competitiveness of how we play it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my timing was a little bit off. This was Super Bowl 59. Press row, man, he was asked about the officiating favoring the Chiefs back then. I mean, this has been boiling for more than 4 seasons in the NFL. Highest possible standards he refers to. The refs as having the highest possible standards? Is this a joke? Did we not just witness what happened this last weekend? And many other weekends? It's insanity for him to think that there's the highest possible standards with the refs. If anything, it's getting worse and worse and worse. He talks about this being not a new problem, that he mentions the script, right? He's deflecting. This is what he does. He deflects. We're not going to talk about the refs. We're not going to talk about the Chiefs. We're going to talk about the script. You guys think I make up this script every year. And then he says it's a social media problem. Everything lives in social media and gets a new life. Well, here we are in week 7 of the 2025 season. And guess what? We have the same problems, Roger. The refs. The lack of transparency and the ability to trust the refs is at an all-time low. And do you honestly think that we care about a one-score win for the Chiefs and a lot of them? How about all the one-score losses? I mean, are you that naive to think that we are that naive to think that the scores can't be manipulated, that the game can't be manipulated to end up where you want it? Come on. What a joke, right? What a joke. But the point is, back then, this was an issue. It's still an issue today. And before that press conference, it was an issue. It's been a consistent issue. NFL Films is the next issue, right? October 16, 2025, NFL Films released and then hastily deleted a video segment in which Louis Riddick openly mocked and criticized the Detroit Lions safety Brian Branch, immediately following his suspension, nonetheless. And in this segment, it replayed Branch's missed tackles while using Brian Branch's post-game press conference comments about feeling bullied. And in that manner, it framed Branch as weak and a flawed character. Just pathetic, right? This was not some outside commentary from a pundit or a journalist. It was the league's own media arm or a subsidiary thereof in the NFL, weaponizing its own platform against one of its own players. The players that they are sworn to protect. You know what? Let's just roll, what a lot of people have been talking about. The Gray Mains on Twitter says the NFL decided this was the week they wanted to put their thumb on the Lions, apparently. Ridiculously officiated game against the Chiefs, contradiction, who made the call on Goff TD, suspension of Branch, idiotic video, sending out a reminder video to punch, who in the balls, right? Or how about Dan Skipper from the Detroit Lions says, hey, at NFL Films, y'all want to post a bunch of BS and then won't stand on business? Feel free to go deeper, right? You guys can read the rest. The point that I'm going to try to make here is there's some clear fallout, right? This touched off a firestorm within the sports community, and the reaction was immediate and overwhelmingly negative. Lions defensive tackle DJ Reader even called the video weird and accused the league of clickbaiting at a player's expense. Teammates, coaches, all defended Brian Branch and his integrity, stressing that the league should have moved on, right? And fans and media erupted across social platforms, demanding accountability and even raising the prospect of litigation. This incident goes beyond just tone-deaf PR, right? It exposes how the NFL uses its official media to shape the narratives and extend punishment, effectively turning league-controlled outlets into instruments of humiliation. The timing also suggests either gross insensitivity or a calculated effort to amplify Branch's suspension just for PR purposes. NFL Films then quietly deleted this video without explanation or accountability. It was just a tacit admission of wrongdoing, but also one devoid of transparency. This doesn't sit well with a lot of people. Obviously, Calvin Shepard says he didn't see the film when it happened, but he believes in his players. We also have some distinct walkback from NFL Films through Pat McAfee. And, yep, I'll just leave that one there for, oh, no, we got to play that one again. Got to leave that one up there for just a second, just a little while longer. Let that marinate. Look, there's a ton that I could talk about, and that's why I have to spread this out over multiple videos. The most important thing that I want to speak about is cancer today. As a cancer survivor, I developed Rockhound Cancer Foundation. And if you feel so inclined to help and support cancer warriors and survivors, we're trying to help the local community. I'd be honored if you would at least take a look at it. It's www.buymeacoffee.com/Rockdown. That is where we're trying to do our business. There's raffles. There's a place to donate. And you can also check out DetroitFootballJournal.com if you're looking for more things to read and or the ability to click on links within the publication to find additional ways to support cancer survivors and warriors. All right, let's get into this, man. NFL Films video. Another hit piece by the NFL.
I'm tired of people doing stuff in between the play and refs don't catch it. Like, them trying to bully me out there. I should have never did it.
It was a long game for Lions safety Brian Branch, number 32. He got burned by Kelsey's basketball move. Got showed up by Mahomes.
Mahomes with his 4th rushing touchdown of the season.
Got juked by Xavier Worthy.
Worthy, with the feet like a featherweight boxer, gets to the outside.
And took a shot from Juju Smith-Schuster.
I got blocked in the back illegally. It was in front of the ref. The ref didn't do anything. I could have got hurt off of that, but it's still, I still shouldn't have done that. So
The turning point led to Branch's boiling point and a 1-game suspension.
All right, so what are the implications of all of this, right? What's going to happen next? You have an erosion of trust. Players, the NFLPA, they see, the league's documentary arm is now judge, jury, and the executioner of the players. I guess they're just going to put out hit pieces of everybody now, right? Just like they're going to call in for every play that they want to overturn from New York and just abandon all of the rules, correct? Or you have reputation damage now, right? The NFL failed to protect one of its own from institutional shaming is what they just did to Brian Branch. It underscores systemic failures under Roger Goodell. It really does. You also have discipline versus humiliation in this instance. The league blurred the line between enforcing rules and publicly degrading its own athletes, undermining any credible disciplinary process. Again, under Roger Goodell. The NFL's inability to distinguish discipline from public shaming and obviously just reckless abandon and inability or unwillingness to even responsibly wield its media power has now caused harm to one of the league's own players. The question is, how did we get here in the first place? Right? What will happen with Roger Goodell? What should happen with Roger Goodell? This is all under his watch. All of the tentacles of the NFL are all under his control. This is his fault. And now it's gone too far. Before I get into some of the largest controversy that has come out of this, here's what Pat McAfee had to say after learning from NFL Films Department as to why the video was deleted.
And then the Brian Branch film that came out, or video that came out on Inside the NFL that was being read by Louis Riddick, that made Brian Branch look awful. Right? Foxy, that was the big takeaway from that video, right? That hit the internet.
Yes,
that,
Lions fans are pissed. It felt like a hit piece. It was just the weirdest thing ever, and everyone is really pissed about it today.
Okay, so I basically told the NFL Films people that I was talking to, like, hey, you got this with Bill, and then you had the Brian Branch video, like, and they're like, this is the answer on the Brian Branch clip, okay? We want all of our shows to have a distinct voice and point of view. In the case of Turning Point, that voice and point of view is Louis Riddick's. He spends time every week with the show's producers, watching each segment and going over the script before narrating. That particular sequence felt different to us as part of a 9-minute breakdown of the Lions-Chiefs game than it did as a standalone excerpt on social media. On X, it felt overly critical to Brian, so we took it down. So they wanted to say, like, everybody was attacking them for taking it down. They're like, we should have never put it up as it was to begin with. So that is kind of their stance on it. And I think they didn't say it there in the...
Okay, so now they want to admit to some fault. Goodbye them. They should have never put it up. You're right. You should have absolutely reviewed it, but you had to have reviewed it. It's no different reviewing it after the fact than before the fact. It was still the same piece. It doesn't matter if it's posted on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. I don't care what social media. It's still the same message. It's a cop-out, NFL, to say that it looked different on Twitter. Come on. Let's be honest. Here's how we got here, right? This is what happened in the first place. It was the Chiefs and the Lions, right? The officiating controversy and then the alleged cover-up. Week 6, Sunday Night Football. And no, I'm not going to rehash the whole damn thing. But the matchup between the Chiefs and the Lions, it became a flashpoint for public distrust in the NFL officiating once again. Go figure. 3 issues kind of stood out, and I'm sure there's a lot more. You've got the nullified Jared Goff touchdown, right? A trick play touchdown by Jared Goff was erased for illegal motion. You go back and read the rules, and yeah, there's a little gray area. One definition makes it illegal, another definition doesn't. Either way, it was a call not made on the field. And when the call is not made in real time on the field, you can't do anything about it because it's not reviewable. So a call not made on the field, but allegedly initiated by the NFL's New York replay office, like 74 seconds later, right? They're tossing a flag after the score. And by rule, such intervention is impermissible. Head coach Dan Campbell was told in real time that the call came from New York. Yet the post-game pool report denied New York's involvement. Days later, Dan Campbell reaffirmed that New York made that call. And you know what I said on Sunday night as I'm doing the post-game is I said, unless Dan comes to the mic or has something put pen to paper that recants what he said in post-game, because in post-game he said New York said, or the official said New York called it. If he would have printed a recantation, if he would have done something to say I made a mistake on Sunday night, then this probably goes away. But that's not what happened. This is what happened.
I know you said it's a sore subject and you take responsibility for that play not being a legal play, so I don't really want to ask you it again. But I did want to know, after the game, you said it came from New York. Were you told that came down from New York?
Yes.
I don't know how it gets any more clear than that. So the contradiction raises the question, has the league been quietly overruling games from its replay hub this whole time? And was this just the first time that they were caught? Is there some script that, hey, we got to make sure that Vegas hits certain numbers? Oh, by the way, did you guys know that a guy placed a $5,000 bet on Jared Goff to score first, and it was good for $500K or some number very close to that, 450 or $500K? And because it was a race, obviously he lost that money. Could you imagine how happy that dude was for all about 90 seconds? It's a little weird, isn't it? I think that there's a lot going on here, especially with the betting. All right, the second thing that stood out to me and why we are here today is the one-sided penalties, right? The Chiefs were not penalized once all game, right? Despite committing multiple and obvious and egregious fouls, confirmed on film review. Over 13 times in front of referees did a Chiefs player commit a penalty. It was egregious in nature. We're not saying just some small thing. Like, it was definitely visible. Egregious is egregious. It included the dubious pass interference on a ball, or I'm sorry, there was one call, right? The one-sided call that was the pass interference call that the ball was nowhere near catchable to Travis Kelce. It was near the end of the second quarter, right? The Chiefs are about midway, about the 50-yard line. They throw a bomb down the right side, and they call pass interference on Rock Ya-Sin. That ball, like I said, it was, 12, 13 yards in front of Kelce. Nowhere close. Nowhere close. That ball would have never been catchable had he just run a go route. He wouldn't even have caught it. So the Chiefs' optimal, field position then ensued after that penalty, and then they scored a couple of plays later. So the imbalance of all these one-sided penalties, it really fueled all of the accusations of the bias and the rigging and the fallout and the crash outs, as some of you like to call it. The third thing is the narrative reinforcement here. The controversy was compounded when NFL Films followed the game up by releasing its hit piece on Brian Branch. I was completely shocked when I opened that link, but this did nothing but further the perception that the league manipulates both officiating and media narratives to protect favored franchises and scapegoat certain players. It's exactly what's going on here. At least that's how I feel. I want to know how you feel, obviously down in the comments. And then you have implications. What's going to happen next? Or what's happening now? Or what's already happened? Well, let's talk about the collapse of integrity for a moment. When coaches, players, and analysts cannot agree on a rule or the rule's application in critical scoring situations, the league's credibility is shattered. You have an accountability crisis when Goodell's pattern of stonewalling and inconsistent explanations completely erode the confidence in both officiating and the leadership. There's also pattern recognition. This is not isolated. You're talking years of controversies, often involving marquee teams like the Chiefs or the Patriots before them. It's fueled suspicion that outcomes are just subtly shaped, right? To serve, whether it's the league's interest or Vegas's interest, or even the latest example, the UTEP study, right? The UTEP study is now proven in this concept based on loads of factual information. One that I'm going to highlight in the follow-up video to this. And if you do read it or find it, please read it. The UTEP study, it's insane. But they have concluded that Kansas City has been slanted, right? Their wins at their games have all been slanted towards them through the officiating. With legalized sports betting happening at such a large volume, I mean, the largest volume ever in the history of the world, betting is now intertwined with the NFL, obviously from a partnership standing where they have a large market share in the advertising, right? And you have all of these failures that carry not just one reputational risk for the NFL, but you also have the potential for legal exposure now. There could potentially be a class action lawsuit, again, from the bettors against the NFL or against, certain betting places. I'm not going to say names, but you know what I'm saying. If fans want to allege fraud and say, hey, look, what you're doing is undermining our ability to actually wage a fair bet, that carries some weight. I'm no lawyer, but I know a few. The next big thing, or the smoking gun, it didn't even happen this last week. It happened this last spring, summer-ish. It's a secret arbitration, right? It's the collusion. It's the NFL PA betrayal. And if you don't remember, well, I'll give you a little bit of a history lesson here. One of the most damaging revelations against Roger Goodell surfaced this past summer in 2025. When it was disclosed that the NFL and the NFLPA, under the new executive director, Lloyd Howell Jr., entered into a secret confidentiality agreement to bury, it's a better word, right? The results of a landmark arbitration ruling on contract guarantees. Independent arbitrator Christopher Droney concluded that Goodell's approval, concluded with Goodell's approval, that the NFL Management Council had encouraged 32 clubs to reduce guarantees in future contracts for the players. And this was done at the 2022 league meeting, directly following the Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed $230 million deal. And if you remember, shortly after that, running backs were having a rough time getting paid. You remember? You probably will now. Although Droney did cite that there was insufficient evidence of a full-scale collusion, he did rule that documented clear intent and coordination among owners, undermining the CBA's core protections against anti-player action. Instead of disclosing the decision, both the league and the union agreed to suppress it for nearly 6 months. And it wasn't that they were going to just shelve it for 6 months and then let people know. No. They were trying to keep everybody in the dark, and the lid got blown off. Somebody ratted somebody out. So for many of us, this really represented a betrayal, you know, and for the league, for the players, I mean, these guys are probably feeling like betrayal by their own union leadership. I mean, the people, again, put in a place to protect them. It's reversing decades of precedent that demanded transparency on all grievances and on every level. It's just been blown to bits. My analysis of this whole thing would tell me that the labor trust is shattered, right? You're colluding with union leadership to suppress evidence of tampering with guarantees. The league destroyed the credibility of the bargaining process. The owner collusion is now exposed. The ownership of potentially 32 franchises, I'm not going to say all of them are involved because I don't know, but Goodell's documented role in encouraging anti-labor coordination, that's the clearest proof yet of bad faith negotiations and probably the clearest example of why he should be removed, or better yet, why he's being urged to resign. And then you also have transparency, which has been completely abandoned. The decision to put the ruling 6 feet under, it really fits Goodell's long pattern of secrecy. His stonewalling, the self-preservation, that's what Roger Goodell's all about. He's made the league billions and billions and billions of dollars. Of course, the franchises want to continue to make money, right? What is it that he has over them as to why they have not ousted him? And why are there grumblings in the league right now from people that I know saying this could be coming sooner rather than later? Goodell could be out soon. Veteran agents, legal scholars, former NFLPA officials have all described this as a near fatal blow to the player confidence. If your players don't have any confidence in what's going on, at some point, the legitimacy of the whole thing collapses. And the league's credibility on economic fairness, well, that's already collapsed. This should have been the final straw then, right? Why was nothing done? Why was Roger Goodell given a pass? Is he grown too powerful? Right? Having made all these billions for these billionaires? Or does he have something? I don't know. You know, another leg of conspiracy in this whole thing, like I said, the arbitrary discipline, right? And the made up justice, kind of just do it as you wish. Roger Goodell seems to hand out punishment differently for everybody. One player gets a 2-game suspension, and then the next player does the same thing and he gets a 4-game suspension, and the next player does the same thing and he gets a 6-game suspension. Makes no sense. But despite the constant rhetoric and the protecting the shield, right? The constant rhetoric about protecting the shield, I guess I should say, Goodell's disciplinary record is defined as arbitrary enforcement. It's disproportionate punishments and a lack of precedent. To example just a few of many, I'll start with this. The Ray Rice scandal, right? Years ago. Goodell's initial 2-game suspension for domestic violence, despite the video evidence that they had, was universally condemned. Only after the full elevator video surfaced through TMZ did he reverse his course, and it was only under massive PR pressure that he do so. Critics accused him of protecting the league's image over justice. Or, federal judges that are rebuking, what is repeatedly found Goodell's disciplinary actions in cases like Bountygate or Adrian Peterson or Ezekiel Elliott, all to be, quote, made up as he goes along, end quote, or beyond his CBA authority. Then you have Deflategate, right? Tom Brady's suspension highlighted the dangers of Goodell acting as both jury, judge, executioner. Federal courts described the process as, quote, fundamentally unfair. He shouldn't just have carte blanche ability to do whatever the hell he wants to do. Because right now we are seeing the fallout of a toxic leader that is ruining the game. Here's a video example of some of the actions and some of the scandals that have gone on under Roger Goodell.
The 2007 New England Patriots Spygate controversy became an embarrassment for the league. The NFL's golden franchise was caught illegally videotaping the New York Jets sideline signals during a 2007 game. That led to reports that the Patriots had been doing it for years, and that Goodell had protected the Patriots up to that point. It's been suggested that Goodell smashed many Spygate tapes, including ones that dated back to Super Bowl 36 against the St. Louis Rams. At any rate, Goodell didn't really punish the Patriots. A six-figure fine and forfeiting draft picks. Big deal. The Deflategate and Bountygate controversies are impossible to ignore as well, and you can easily argue that he punished the wrong people in both incidents. Then you have stories of teams pumping extra crowd noise in through the speakers. It just seems like many teams are trying to cheat until Goodell catches them, because he clearly isn't the best at sniffing out the slimy stuff that goes on under his nose. A better NFL commissioner would be enforcing rules, stay more authoritative, and handle the whole punishment thing better. Goodell continues to display that he's just not cut out for putting an end to the cheating scandals, and that he's not able to deal with the disciplinary stuff properly. That's why the NFL needs a new commissioner. Number 5, decline in TV ratings. Television ratings for the NFL moved up 5% for the 2018 season, but in previous years the TV ratings had dropped by a wide margin, and it's easy to believe that the trend will return in the near future. Keep in mind that ratings were down considerably for 2016 and 17. Why? Because people are still going to boycott the NFL. The political sagas, the off-the-field incidents involving players, and the NFL's ignorance of CTE studies and data gives fans good reason to do something else on Sundays. Like watch Game of Thrones. Oh, it's over. No, damn. Goodell hasn't been able to step in and address the issues that have caused people to stop watching football. Fair or unfair, the decline in TV ratings falls on the boss, because he hasn't done his job in giving everyone a reason to devote their Sundays to football. He seems to play the I don't care card when it comes to TV ratings. Ditto for the owners. But guess what? Ignoring the public outcry and backlash is only going to lead to lower and lower TV ratings. If that ends up being the case in 2019 and 2020, what will it take for the league to finally bring in a new commissioner? Ratings and money are everything in the NFL, and with viewership dropping significantly in recent years, it's becoming more evident that Goodell has been in charge for far too long now.
Look, the pattern's full, man. He's got a pattern, or he has a pattern. And why Goodell must go, I think, is simple. And, individually, could each scandal be dismissed as isolated? Maybe. But taken together, I think that what you're looking at is systemic pattern. A failure. A scandal. It's a culture of secrecy, cover-ups, PR spin, all over transparency. It's disciplinary procedures designed to protect the league's bottom line, not deliver justice, right? It's weaponizing the league's institutions like NFL Films, most recently, for scapegoating and damage control. It's the consistent bias toward, owner interests at the expense of player trust, labor rights, or basic fairness. What are the consequences, right? Pretty large. Players no longer going to trust Goodell's office or even their own union leadership. The fans, the biggest part of all of this, increasingly associate the NFL with now the WWE, corrupt officiating, and have lost faith in the system that was designed to protect the game. The idea of the word game has long been forgotten. It's no longer a game. It's fantasy. It's fantasy football. It's betting this prop. It's betting that prop. It's all gone. And it's because we're allowing it to be. We're allowing it to be monopolized by money and greed. The observations of judges, journalists, and insiders now routinely cite new leadership as essential, critical to restoring the league's legitimacy before it all falls apart. Prior to the last segment, I wanted to let you know that there will be a part 2, and it will follow this video, and it's going to be called Following the Money. As always, the trail always leads back to the money, always. And between 2012 and 2015, there were structural issues within the NFL that set the stage for the controversies that are exploding right now and right after 2017. In that video that we just played, which may or may not still be in this video if it didn't have to get clipped out, noted 2016 and 2017. And there's a reason why those years are so important. But part 2 will trace the financial and institutional decisions that created today's crises within the NFL landscape. So in closing, the process for removal under the NFL Constitution and bylaws. One, Goodell's not an owner. He's an employee of 32 owners, and he's hired under contract that they vote to approve. The termination power relies on if the owners vote to either A, not renew, or B, if they move to terminate early. If there is a vote threshold, the NFL Constitution requires a 3/4 supermajority, which is 24 of 32 owners. For major actions like removing an owner, while Goodell's case is slightly different, he's an employee, not a franchise holder, the same principle applies. It would take a supermajority of owners to oust him. The mechanics are simple. An owner or a group of owners would raise the issue formally at a league meeting. The matter would be put to a vote among all 32 controlling owners. If at least 24 vote in favor, Roger Goodell would be removed or his contract would be terminated. The question now is, will the ownership gather the votes to force Goodell out, or will he resign before the backlash reaches the breaking point? At stake is more than Goodell's tenure. It is whether the NFL can regain the trust of its most important stakeholders, and that is the players and the fans.
Pressured by